Karabakh is one of the ancient historical regions of Azerbaijan. The name Karabakh is a combination of the words Gara, black, big, and Bak, garden, land. The word Karabakh as a name given by Azerbaijani people to their land first appeared in primary sources of the 7th century. Nagorno-Karabakh lies in the center of the western regions of the Azerbaijan Republic, part of Karabakh as a whole. Nagorno-Karabakh is an integral part of the present Azerbaijan Republic and is one of the territories to which Armenians were moved on a mass scale from 1820. Once vibrant and prosperous area has turned into battlefield in early 1990s. As a result of this brutal war, native Azerbaijani population had to leave. The Armenian-Russian relations expanded with the occupation of Kazan and Astrakhan by Russia and Turkish wars, and the attempts to conquer the Caspian lands even strengthened. During this process the Armenians started to be resettled to Russia and their colonies were established. The state order of the Peter the Great to the Armenian people played a great role in this process. The order agreed on the resettlement of Armenians on the lands occupied by Russia. This political course of Peter the Great continued within a century. The Armenians' resettlement and unification intensified after the victory of Russia in the Russian-Iranian War of 1804–1813 and the signing of the GULSHAN agreement, which divided Azerbaijan in two parts. After the occupation of Yerevan in the Russian-Iranian War of 1826–1828, the implementation of the plan was initiated. Armenian Catholicon nurses Ashtarakatsi worked out a project on the resettlement of Armenians. Alexander Griboidov, a Russian politician, also contributed to the development and implementation of the plan. The Turkmenchay Agreement signed on February 10, 1828 stipulated for the resettlement of Armenians by its Article 15. From Article 15, His Majesty Shah grants presents to the population and officials of the region called Azerbaijan. Moreover, he gives a year for these families to move from Iran to Moscow freely and to carry their movable property without any tariffs and taxes imposed on them and sell them. As for the immovable property, the families are given 5 years to sell it or to present it to someone voluntarily. The resettlement committees were established in Yerevan and Nakhichevan for organizing the resettlement of Armenians. The displaced persons were granted important privileges. They were released from taxes and tariffs for the term of 6 years. They were delivered benefits from the indemnity received from Iran. The resettlement was initiated after the implementation of definite preparatory measures. The number of Armenians resettled from Iran totaled 40 to 50,000 people. During the Russian-Turkish War of between 1828 and 1829 and after it 90,000 Armenians were brought from Turkey. Armenians were resettled from Iran, Turkey and other eastern countries from Russia in the later period. Transcaucasia was the major direction of the resettlement. Armenians paid a great attention to the places they were going to settle in Transcaucasia. Griboidov wrote, "It's necessary to resettle Armenians from the regions occupied by Russian army that are Tabriz, Koy, Salmas, Marigat, Nakhichevan, Yerevan, and Karabakh." Griboidov fulfilled his duty with a great dignity. Armenians settled on the best lands of Ganadja and Yerevan provinces. The mountain part of Yelizavetpol province and the shores of the Goychi Lake were inhabited by Armenians. Thus, the resettlement of Armenians caused changes in the ethnic composition of the regions mentioned above. The historical injustice took place in the establishment of the autonomous province of Nagorno-Karabakh in 1923 when the mountain and the plain parts were artificially separated from each other, and the consolidation of Armenian population was created favorable conditions and a grave blow was struck on the democratic position of Azerbaijanis. Armenians of Nagorno-Karabakh marked the 150th anniversary of their resettlement in 1978, and a special monument was erected in Agdara. As stated above, The resettlement of Armenians was implemented for the sake of both Russia and Armenia's political interests. Such settlement policy created a huge headache for Azerbaijani people in the future. Tsegakran was formed by combination of two Armenian words, race and religion. The movement founded by Gerjan Nijlis called Tsegakran and his ideological doctrine Tsegakranism. It is a national, ethnic and political movement towards a renewal of the spiritual, behavioral and cultural identity of the Armenian people. The aim of Tsegakranism is to unite the Armenian people on the territory of their historical homeland within a single Armenian state. Well, this assumption is just on paper. The Republic of Armenia determines its state policy based on this doctrine. The Republican Party of Armenia, led by President Serge Sargsyan and current Prime Minister Nikol Pashinyan, sees Nijd as their ideological leader. This person, who was not inferior to Andronik for cruelty, shed rivers of blood. While being leader of Armenian Legion of Wehrmacht, he fulfilled his duty by throwing Jews to death camps, mainly fighting in Caucasus, southern France, and Crimea. Having moved from Tabriz to Sofia in 1922, Nijd began to publish his first anti-Turkic and anti-Muslim articles. All articles had one target, Turks and Turkey, and had one goal, to create hatred in Armenians abroad against Turks and Turkey. After leaving Bulgaria for the US, Nijd began to spread the doctrine there. Through this theory, Armenians approached racist Tsegakran to fascism. The present-day stage of the Armenia-Azerbaijan conflict began at the end of 1987 with the attacks on the Azerbaijanis in Konkandy, and Armenia resulted in a flood of Azerbaijani refugees and internally displaced persons. On February 20, 1988, the representatives of the Armenian community at the session of the adopted a decision to send a petition to the Supreme Soviets of the Azerbaijan SSR and the Armenian SSR for the transfer of the Nagorno-Karabakh from the Azerbaijan SSR to the Armenian SSR. This situation marked the birth of a new ideology, MYNSAM, unification. Leaders of this movement was Zogry Balin, Silva Kaputikian, and Igor Moradian. On February 22, 1988, near the town of Ezgurin on the Konkandy-Idam Highway, the Armenians opened fire on a peaceful demonstration by the Azerbaijanis protesting against the above-mentioned decision. 2 Azerbaijani youths lost their lives in consequence, becoming the first victims of the conflict. On 26 February 28, 1988, 26 Armenians and Azerbaijanis were killed as a result of the disturbances in Sumgayit. It is notable that one of the leading figures in these events was Edward Grigorian, an Armenian and native of Sumgayit, who is directly involved in the killings and violence against the Armenians and the pogroms in the Armenian neighborhoods. By decision of the Criminal Division of the Supreme Court of the Azerbaijan SSR dated December 22, 1989, Grigorian was sentenced to 12 years imprisonment. The court found Grigorian to be one of the organizers of the unrest and massacres. Depositions by witnesses and victims show that he had a list of flats inhabited by the Armenians and together with 3 other Armenians, called for reprisals against the Armenians, in which he took part personally. His victims, all Armenians, identified Grigorian as one of the organizers and active figures in the violence. In fact, events in Sumgayit being necessary to the Armenian leadership as a means of launching an extensive anti-Azerbaijani campaign and justifying the ensuing aggressive actions against Azerbaijan had been planned and prepared in advance. During 1988 to 1989, the Azerbaijanis were forced to leave Armenia. In the course of mass deportation, at least 216 Azerbaijanis were killed and 1,154 people were wounded. The refugees from Armenia, eventually numbering approximately 200,000 people, began to arrive in Azerbaijan. On September 23, 1989, the Supreme Soviet of the Azerbaijan SSR adopted the constitutional law on sovereignty of the Azerbaijan SSR, 5th provision of which provided, inter alia, that sovereignty of the Azerbaijan SSR shall cover the whole its territory, including Azerbaijan's integral parts, Nakhchivan and Nagorno-Karabakh, and that the borders of the Azerbaijan SSR with other Union republics might be altered only by mutual agreement of republics concerned. On December 1, 1989, the Supreme Soviet of the Armenia-SSR adopted a resolution on the reunification of the Armenian SSR and Nagorno-Karabakh. On January 10, 1990, the Presidium of the Supreme Soviet of the USSR adopted the resolution on incompatibility of the acts of the Supreme Soviet of the Armenian SSR concerning Nagorno-Karabakh with the Constitution of the USSR, where it was stated the unlawfulness of the unification of the Armenian SSR and Nagorno-Karabakh without the consent of the Azerbaijan SSR. On January 20, 1990, with the approval of the Soviet leadership under Mikhail Gorbachev, the Soviet army units were dispatched to Baku. Their reprisals, which were conducted with uncommon savagery, left hundreds of innocent Azerbaijani citizens dead and wounded. The Constitutional Act on State Independence of the Republic of Azerbaijan, adopted on October 18, 1991, established political and economic foundations of the Republic of Azerbaijan. On November 26, 1991, the Supreme Soviet of the Republic of Azerbaijan adopted a law on the abolition of the Nagorno-Karabakh Autonomous Oblast of the Republic of Azerbaijan.